AITA for telling my guy friend to sleep outside the tent? I, F23, recently went on a camping trip with 3 other friends, my guy friend Theo and 2 others, guy and girl. At first I shared a tent with my female friend but after a few days she and the other guy decided they wanted to share one instead. So Theo and I ended up sharing a tent. I was okay with this and he seemed fine too. But when actually came and we went to bed he seemed really uncomfortable and tense. Like he kept tossing and turning and trying to make conversation which was terribly awkward. At one point I told him that I'd like to fall asleep now and he said okay. But he kept fidgeting and I was so tired from the day so it was just annoying. So I decided to grab some blanket, told him that I'll sleep outside. He said that IT's not a good idea and I told him I'd rather get a good night's sleep. We started arguing whispering in the dark and I told him to sleep outside so it works out for everyone. He was unhappy with this and told me I can't just kick him out. I told him then I'd do it but he didn't want this either. At this was truly fed up and I asked him to offer solutions. He ultimately went to sleep outside. In the morning I woke up and he was in the tent with me but grumbled that he just came in the morning. I felt energized and well rested but he looked super disheveled and you could tell he didn't sleep at all. Now he just keeps giving me weird glances and seems. When our friends found out what happened they called me mean for making him sleep outside and that we could have solved the issue differently. Am I the *asshole? AITA for refusing to invite my fiance's sister to our wedding? My fiance, 28M, and I, 27F, are getting married next year. His family is Spanish but all of them speak perfect English. I don't speak Spanish at all. When I visit his family, no one ever switches to English. They all always act like I am not there. They just don't make effort to include me in their conversations at all. I swallowed this for years and I learned to live with it. However, can't stand how his little sister, 27F, treats me. Here are some examples. When we visit his family, she always asks my fiancé if they can spend time and to have some quality sibling time without me. Since I don't know anybody in Spain, it just means that they are going out for a whole day and I just stay alone with their parents, which are ignoring me. I comprehend how people can treat their guests like that. I would never dream to tell my fiancé to stay in a room in my hometown because I need some quality time with my sister. I hate the smell of cigarettes. My nose is sensitive and it just can't stand it. I never have problems with it in public. When I smell it, I just move to avoid standing next to a smoker. Sister is a smoker and she knows I hate the smell. She was asked many times to move her smoking elsewhere when I am present, however she always refused. There were times when we were eating a lunch, and she was smoking next to me, knowing it disturbs me a lot. When I wanted to leave the table for 5 minutes to wait out the smoke, my fiancé was calling me rude. Also when I was refusing down next to her, I was apparently being offensive. We were planning a family trip. One day I was talking to my so in English, when his sister comes between us and starts talking to my fiancé in Spanish, ignoring my presence completely. He told me that his sister came and asked him to not bring me to that family trip, that it will be better without me, and that I am not welcome there. I felt super disrespectful that someone can stand in front of me and say all these things in other language knowing I wouldn't understand. There were many moments when I was having an English discussion with my fiancé, and his sister was just coming in and interrupting us without even hi towards me. She was just starting speak Spanish to my fiancé and I was just standing there, feeling very unwelcome. She advised my fiancé to break up with me many times. She was telling his whole family mean stuff about me. Apparently that I am jealous, toxic, etc. None of it is true. I was very hurt hearing it. Booty get it. If she felt like it, she should inform her brother. But not supporting our relation makes me not want to invite her to our wedding. More subtle stuff but characters limit so. Now we are preparing a guest list. I don't want to invite her. I know I won't have a good time on my own wedding if she's there. Things she was doing tone were subtle, but I always felt excluded and bad. AITA, and #X200B, edit. I am learning Spanish. My current level ISB1. All those situations above happened when I didn't speak a word in Spanish, and I didn't want to confuse people by saying I know Spanish now.
AITA for not paying for my neighbor's daughter's medical bills after she got hurt on my property? I, 29F, own a townhouse with a surprisingly large backyard. Although there is no fence that separates my yard from my neighbors, 27 and 41 meters, there is a stone pathway right down the center that separates our outdoor spaces. So it is very clear where my yard ends and where theirs begins. They have 2 small children, 5 meters and 7F, and I have a medium-sized dog. My dog knows and is trained to stay only within my yard, whereas on many occasions now, their children have come into my yard to play. They aren't doing anything obnoxious per se, but I just don't personally feel comfortable with them coming into my yard as it feels like overstepping a boundary. This is my personal space, and although we're neighbors, I don't feel that it's appropriate for their children to regularly come onto my property and play as if it is their own. I've brought this up with the neighbors at least 3 times and they don't take me seriously at all. They cannot comprehend why I don't want their children coming into my yard freely. They say if it bothers me so much, that I should have a fence built. Maybe I am stubborn, but that just feels like me taking accountability for their lack of parenting, so I won't do it. Not to mention having a fence built can get really pricey, and I want to prioritize furnishing my home, new construction, only been here for 6 months, and working on a few other projects. I have spoken to the kids when they come into my yard, and have nicely explained that my yard is not their play space. This usually keeps them away for a few days until they are right back. Edit. Here is where I might be the Asshole. I had a nasty cold for a few days last week, and because of that, I wasn't on top of picking up after my dog. During this time, I had an idea, that maybe if I stopped picking up after her for a while, it would deter neighbor kids from coming into my yard. I assumed they probably wouldn't want to play around. Dog oop. So even after I was no longer sick, I held off on cleaning up. Earlier this week the kids came into my yard as usual. To keep a long story short, the girl ended up getting hurt. She felt and fractured her arm as they were playing near wooden pallets that had been sitting outside. When I went to look at the area after it happened, I noticed that she must have stepped in dog oop, slipped, and fell. I feel really terrible that she hurt herself, but I also don't really think I'm responsible. My neighbors are furious at me, and are trying to claim that I should foot some of the medical bills, but I absolutely refused. I'm not sure if they know that she slipped and fell because of dog oop that wasn't picked up, but either way I will not agree to help with the bills. I know it was super petty of me to do this, but I asked nicely multiple times and they still didn't respect my boundaries. I also didn't think anyone would get hurt, just thought they would think it was gross and not want to come over anymore. AITA? AITA for letting me in-laws have some of my special fudge and causing them to spend the weekend. My in-laws always tell stories about when they were young. How they went to Lollapalooza and Burning Man before it got all commercial. I like hearing their good old days stories. They are amusing. My favorite is how my father-in-law missed seeing Nirvana in some dive bar because he never heard of them. I make my own edibles and they are pretty. We don't have kids yet, so I'm okay just leaving them out with a warning sign for my wife. My edibles should carry a warning label, don't make any ucking plans for a while. My in-laws were over this weekend. They said they wanted to try my fudge. I said they were welcome, but that they should try just a quarter of one of my fudge pieces. That is what my wife usually takes. It is enough to have a great night but still be able to function the next day. My in-laws decided they were old school cool and I was shining them on. They each took a full piece. That was Friday night. They didn't move from the couch until Saturday after. They had plans that went sideways. I'm not sure how that's my fault. They literally took 4 times as much as I recommended. My wife is upset with me and so are my in-laws. They ended up staying until Sunday when they felt normal. I tried to explain that the cannabis I grow is stronger than whatever they are used to from the 90s, but I'm still in trouble. WIBTA for not having my cancer-stricken ex-husband stay with me through his treatment? For most of our marriage, my husband, 39M, and I, 37F, had a very happy relationship. We had good jobs, decent money, 2 kids and loved each other. Then he got diagnosed with a rare form of cancer and we went through years of painful treatments and recovery together. We moved to a small house to be close to the research center where he underwent treatment. Parents paid half of the down payment on the house, the other half was from our savings and investments. In the divorce, he gave me the house and took all of his medical debt. We have been divorced a year, but now his cancer has come back and he needs treatment again at the same research hospital. He wants to stay in what is now my house while undergoing treatment, and his parents expect me to house him and look after him because he was generous in letting me have the house without taking his rightful share from the equity. When we were married and he was undergoing treatment, it was new stuff that was expensive and also very physically draining on him. We were lucky that both our jobs were supportive and flexible, but with his health issues, little kids and expenses, we had to downgrade our lifestyle a lot. That plus the physical changes in his body made him very depressed. Whenever he felt a bit better, he'd go stay in his hometown. It's a small town where most of his family and a lot of his childhood friends live. I was doing all the caretaking of him, while also dealing with insurance complications. I was managing the kids, the entire household and my full-time job. We had help from friends and neighbors, but it was very hard. I wasn't happy about him spending his healthy days away from us, but it was good for his mental health, so I didn't feel like a cold object. While he was staying there, he had reconnected with his high school girlfriend. A couple years ago, admitted to me that he was sleeping with her and I filed for divorce. He had fully recovered from his cancer by then. There are other aspects around the cheating that left me very heartbroken and feeling betrayed. His giving me the house and taking all the debt was an apology of a sort. His parents feel that I owe him for getting the house and should let him stay there for the 2 to 3 months his treatment is at the facility. I do want them to be well and I don't want my kids to lose a loving father. But I can't deal with having him around me, especially not if I end up being his nurse and caretaker again. I am still very bitter about how our marriage ended. A lot of people closet to me are telling me that I should support him for the sake of my kids. WIBTA if I say I can't. That